Alright, so one of the issues I have with the current format is that no matter what deck I'm trying to touch, I always have one bad matchup that completely screws me over. Now that annoys me. When I enter a tournament, I don't want to have to hope I don't face a particular deck, especially in an open format like this. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the reason we play prank hits, and we'll go into the list in a few moments. But side note, if you have time this weekend, feel free to stop by at the Luxury Gaming Twitch stream, where I will be commentating the Luxury Championship Series 15 alongside a beautiful co-commentator by the name of Ryan Yu. And if you happen to enter the tournament, I made a video called 36 card interactions for the current format, reminding you of all the interactions you will need for this upcoming weekend. What is there to say about prank hits? This deck has always been good, but it's never been tier 1. Why talk about it now? Well, for one, Dino was one of the worst matchups for this deck, and Striker has always been one of the best matchups for this deck. So maybe in general you could say this deck just interacts way better with the format than previously. I would say that's true. It practically doesn't have any bad matchups. It plays enough hand traps going second to stop the combo decks this format, Drytron, Tri-Brigade Zodiac, or Virtual World, and has enough power to outgrind the control decks, Striker, Salamangreat, and so on and so forth. One of the main reasons people have still not played this deck is because it's a deadly one-card combo engine. When your combo resolves, you're in a very, very good spot most of the time, and you only need one card to start it. But if you get hand trapped, well, you probably pass, unless you play loads of extenders. I tried to counteract that problem by playing a lot of extenders. I think it is what you are supposed to do with this deck, especially in the current format. That's why with this list, we play 15 Prankets monsters, 10 extenders, and just a bunch of hand traps. It's all this deck needs, and I feel like if piloted correctly and built correctly, this deck can go very far. I think even maybe pushing tier 1. I don't know yet. We'll see. But let's talk about this deck list. We play 3 plays, 3 dropsies, 3 fancies, 3 lamsies, 3 roxies. I think this is not a surprise. Plays is a broken card. People ask how you out-dragoon with this deck, for example. Well, plays reduces the attack by 500, and it is only once per turn by card. So if you go first, you play plays, you do all your plays, their turn, they summon Dragoon, your turn, you reduce Dragoon's attack by 500, you can activate another place from your hand to reduce it by a further 500, already making it only 2000. You have to play in a way where Dragoon doesn't destroy a card on your field, so it doesn't get the 1000 boost. But that's why plays is an incredible card, for example, but also other interactions like chain blocking, of course, is very important. I think every other prank I don't have to spend too much time talking about. We played 10 extenders for this deck. I think Prankets Pranks is, or maybe you could say a pseudo extender, but it is still an extender, right? It doesn't give you full combo, but it is an extender. We play 8 full extenders, I would say, maybe 2 semi-extenders. 3 polymerization. Honestly, I hadn't looked at too many other Prankets lists previously to make it this one. And one of the things I found when looking at these lists is why didn't they play polymerization? I feel like this deck needs cards that play through hand traps. If you push through hand traps, especially with this deck, it makes them go -1. So your opponent, right? They hand trap you, you play polymerization, they went -1 because you can still do your full combo without them getting any benefit from it. So I think that playing cards that play through their hand traps is very important. Polymerization is one of them. 3 Pandemonium, I think, is mandatory, right? That is not a huge surprise, but still playing 3 of this, I think, is important. You just always want to open your fusion spell when you go first. They will always waste their Ash on your normal summon, always waste their hand trap on it, because sometimes it can be enough, of course, but if you play enough extenders, it probably won't. Instant Fusion and 1-for-1. The reason I play 1-for-1 over Monster Reborn is because 1-for-1 still gives you full combo, while Monster Reborn doesn't let you, obviously, use the effect of the monster that got hand trapped again. So I like 1-for-1, even though it needs another monster in your hand. I still think it's good. It probably doesn't get ashed because usually your opponent would waste their ash on the Prankets monster that you summoned in the first place. So then you can freely just go off with 1-for-1. Prankets Pranks. Now, I know some of you, they're gonna hate me for this. I like 2 of this. This is not a 3-off and it's not a 1-off for me. Sometimes people like to Cosmic Cyclone this card, honestly. They like to Twin Twister this card because it's annoying, because it gains advantage over several turns, and Prankets is a deck that plays over several turns. I like this card because sometimes you need also an additional card with fancies to mill. It also acts as a pseudo extender, as I said. It doesn't give you full combo because obviously the token doesn't get you another summon from your deck. It doesn't matter too much. I feel like getting the Dodo is already quite a lot you can maybe go on from there. And then we just play a bunch of hand traps, because this is all you need this format: Ashe, Ghostbell, Veiler, Nibiru. And of course, you could replace your Veiler with an Impermanence. You could replace the Nibiru with a Phantasma. It doesn't really matter too much. The important thing is that you have space for these. That is the most important thing, that you have space for these in the first place. I like Ashe and Ghostbell, of course. They're the two best hand traps in the format. I feel like Ghostbell hits every important deck, every relevant deck in the format, as well as Prank Hits themselves. It hits Drytron, it hits Virtual World, it hits the Revolt card. Veiler I prefer over Impermanence, because Prank Hits already gives you a lot of field presence. When you go first with this deck, you set up a decent board with 4 monsters, a double Raigeki, a Prank Hits Pranks that they have to out eventually if they want to grind with you. And having an Impermanence, sometimes, you know, it's too much on your field. It's too much presence on your field. You get blown out by Feather Duster, you get blown out by Twin Twister in the standby phase, especially Cosmic Cyclone. So I like having more hand traps in my hands. That's why I prefer Veiler, even though it runs into triple tactics. But I don't think too many people are running that card right now. Even though we are, of course, in this build. Nibiru, I think, is still fine. It's not the best hand trap, but currently I don't really see a good, replacement for this card. Maybe Skullmeister is something that can go into the main deck at some point. For now, I like the Nibiru, though. Against Drytron, sometimes it's fine. Against Trizu, it stops them from having the Apollousa, which of course can be very annoying with Prank Hits to deal with. I don't know, maybe tomorrow, I'll be honest, maybe tomorrow this card won't be in the deck anymore. So you really have to play with these hand trap, change these ratios up every week or so you stay up to date with the meta. And then you play Talent, because I think that with this deck, if they will hand trap you, like they will hand trap you regardless. Prank Hits, it always has almost a reputation, you could say, of I just hand trap their first normal summon, no matter what happens. They will do it. And Talent, even though sometimes I don't have a play anymore, I still would like to look at their hand and take a card away. I give you a very standard scenario. You have a Prank Hits monster that got hand trapped, and your hand is something like Ashe, Nibiru, Prank Hits Pranks, and the Talent, right? Something I personally like to do is play the Talent and let them show me their hand, so I know which cards I have to hand trap with the Ashe, with the Ghostbell, with the Veiler. Just let them play, hand trap them at the exact point of where they're vulnerable, and then play my turn again and fully go off. I think this is a very good payoff for them hand trapping you. And especially with Prank Hits, when you play 10 extenders, sometimes you can go for the draw as well. I like the card currently in the format anyway, because still Dragoon, you know, I said previously, Place is the way to out Dragoon. Access Code is a way to out Dragoon, but still, it is an annoying card to deal with, and Talent makes it a lot easier. It is, of course, a non-engine card that you have to draw, but, well, what can you do? The card is still very, very nuts. The extra deck, I think, is the... I won't go over this for too long. I think it's very standard. 3 Meow Meow, 3 Prank Hits, Doodle Doodle Doo, Doodle Dodo Doodle Doo. 2 Bow Wow. I bumped this up to 2. I think 2 is quite important, actually. 1 sometimes in the rank game can get annoying. 2 Rocket Ride, 1 Washer, 1 Butler, and the other 3 spots are sort of flag spots, you could say, but not really, because you need all of them. If I'm frank, like, in my opinion, you need all of them at some point. Totally Awesome lets you play through a hand trap or Nibiru on your 3rd turn. So if it's turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, then on your turn, again, if you want to play through Nibiru, you use 2 of your Dropsies to go into Totally Awesome, 1 Unicorn for removal, and just to go into Access Code. And Access Code is very, very good in this deck, obviously. You can link summon very easily, link climb, get that Access Code talk out as soon as possible. We play Feather Duster, very neat back row removal. We don't have to talk about it. Cyclone is nice this format. I like it in the mirror match. I like it against Striker. I like it against a lot of decks. I like it even against the Tri-Brigade matchup. Sometimes, depends. But especially you need it versus Order and Anti-Spell. That's why this card is a mandatory right now. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe Twin Twister could be an option as well. But sometimes then, again, with Prank Hits, you play a lot of hand traps. You want to keep as many cards in your hand as possible. And you really just want to hit that Anti-Spell and Order out of the way, right? 3 deck can be only 1. This deck doesn't have any problems with different typings. It's good against Salamangreat, Edagnister. It's just a good floodgate. Cycle Reader is good versus Stridron, of course. Contact Sea I like versus the Tri-Brigade Zodiac deck. A lot of people still haven't caught up on the fact that people are still playing this card, or this is still a valid side deck option. So sometimes they just don't play it out at all. I've won games on Dueling Book rated just by them not having an out at all, and I can just do freely whatever I want. So I like this card for now. I don't know if it will stay in the deck for much longer when people catch up on this, but to finish it off to Skullmeister, this card is very good in some matchups, but then totally bad in other matchups. If I imagine this card in my hand against Trizu, I don't want that at all. I want this card versus Prankits, versus Shadol, versus Drytron potentially, but even then it's not too great. So against some matchups, this is fine. Overall, I have enjoyed this list quite a bit. I like the additional extenders of polymerization. If you go second, you hand trap them a bit. They still have one interruption. The polymerization makes sure you play through their interruption if you open 2 Prankits monsters, which, you know, there's a high chance of that happening. I like the talent. I like the many hand traps. I like everything about this deck. It has a huge power level, and I think if piloted correctly, which is not easy at all with this deck, you have many options, this can go very, very far. Anyway, that was my take on Prankits in the current format. What do you think? Do you think this is also sort of a sleeper deck, this current format? Or am I even overhyping it to some degree? Well, I would very much like to know. Write it down in the comments. Other than that, I am very excited to see how this deck is going to perform this weekend, if at all, and how Pack is going to perform. I know he's topped the YCS remote duel with the deck. He's top 16, he said. He's playing some Spice, so I'm very interested in seeing that. Anyway, I hope you guys loved it, and I will see you in the next one.